Sound morals are sound morals are becoming a rarity in today's culture. Along with sound morals is the importance of oratory skills. This is bad news for us because morals are what build us up as people to form a good society that will flourish, and oratory skills, our speech, is how we convey ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, and our ideas.
A firm moral foundation and good oratory skills are critical for everyone, especially us, as we travel through these years of high school and college and focus on learning and education and growing. Our research on these two men shows that their devotion to these avenues was great. Quintilian and Socrates were different in many ways, but in two places that they were very alike. Their two main points of focus were on morals and speaking. Quintilian never really spoke much. He just wrote it all out in his institutes, and Socrates just spoke mainly.
Like Greg said, they are totally different. Quintilian was a big writer as well as a speaker, and Socrates was only a speaker. He wrote nothing. And they lived in different times and came from different places, but they still had similar emphases on the points of the importance of morals and of good speaking skills.
Quintilian was born in 35 AD in Calgaris, Spain. He had a wife and two sons, but sadly they all died before he did. His father, a well-educated man, sent him at a young age to Rome to study rhetoric. While there in Rome, he met a man named Dominus Afere. Dominus Afere was a well-known Roman rhetorician and orator. Quintilian made him his icon and aspired to writing like him and speaking like him, and just tried to be in his likeness. In his latter life, Quintilian retired and began writing more. This is when he wrote his Institutes of Oratory. In his Institutes, he deals with education, morals, and speaking, and rhetoric in general, and how those combine and culminate to make an ideal rhetorician. His definition of rhetoric is the good man speaking well, and that really shows that he focused on morals. It's the good man, and that really also shows that he focused on speaking.
Socrates was born in 470 BC in Athens, Greece. He had a wife and 3 kids, a stonemason for a father, and it is known that he served in the military. Aside from those things, not much is known about him personally as far as his upbringing in life, because he left behind absolutely no writings. He was a total speaker. Interesting thing about him is that he had no noble blood, and again, his dad was a stonemason. No noble blood. He was poor. He was in a constant state of poverty. He had no written legacy. He was only able to convey himself using his voice. And it was actually noted that he was quite unattractive. Which is interesting that he has all these things working against him, yet he was able to make such an impact on history. Almost everyone knows who Socrates is, yet he had a lot going against him. When it came down to his speaking style, Socrates was highly conversational. He was a teacher as well as a speaker. He was a big fan of argumentation. One of his favorite things to do was he would challenge noblemen and other higher-ups in Greece, and if he found that they thought they were firm in a certain belief, he would hit them with a barrage of questions that were very critical, and he would attempt to dismantle their beliefs, and he was really good at it. His point of doing this was that he was really into cross-examination. He believed if you were going to claim that you were firm in something, you should really be firm in it. You should truly know what you believed. One example of this was he ran into a young nobleman who claimed that he knew exactly what piety was. The man said that actions were pious because they were loved by the gods. Socrates instantly replied with, "Is the pious loved by the gods because it is pious, or is it pious because it is loved by the gods?" The man didn't have an answer for that, and he had to go home and rethink himself. So little things like that. He just didn't want blind spots in people's belief if they were going to claim to be firm in that. And that was just one of many instances of him doing that. So it's hard to find out exactly what his opinions on speech were because he didn't have any writings, and the only things we know about him come from his students, one of which was Plato. But I think his life is the biggest message about what he thought about speaking because that's all he used. And when it comes to his moral emphasis, you can tell that by his death. Later on in his life, Socrates was charged with undermining state religion and with corrupting the young with his philosophy. And he was faced with the charges of either silence, exile, or submitting to the death penalty. And Socrates didn't believe that it was right to give up philosophy. He said that argumentation, philosophy, and debate is part of healthy state life and that it shouldn't be taken out. So he accepted the death penalty. Even in jail while he was waiting for it, his friends came up and tried to talk him out of it, and the options for exile or for silence never disappeared. But he had a strong gut feeling that it wasn't right to give up philosophy. He said that the unexamined life is not worth living. So he drank hemlock and passed away as a good example to his students that you should stand up for what you believe is right.
Even though Quintilian and Socrates were different and they emphasized their ideas through different ways, they had generally the same focus points, which were they believed that oratory skills and a firm foundation of morals are critical to human life as a whole. Strongholds on morality are important avenues. Strongholds on morality and speaking are important avenues to focus on. We should all, throughout our lives, keep working on these practices.
Yeah, the emphasis on having sound morals, a good foundation in that, and using your voice as more than just a secondary or a specialized skill, having that be something you focus on. These are two things we definitely need to pursue and to improve on because they're kind of getting left behind. We have no excuse to leave those.